You're listening to the More Insight Q&A podcast, a podcast that gives you answers to complex questions, backed by More Insight's team of experts.
Welcome to episode 1 of the More Insight Q&A podcast. My name is Joanna, and today I'm joined by Ian Sanderson, Director at More Insight SAP. Ian, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure, Joanna. Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us a bit about yourself and More Insight SAP, please?
Certainly. So, in terms of my background, it's one of primarily business analysis and project management, amongst many other things. But I've worked on and led a number of ERP implementations over the years, specifically within the SAP space. In terms of More Insight has been established now for over 30 years in providing support and expertise to its clients on their ERP and digital transformation journeys. So whilst More Insight are system agnostic and have a breadth of experience across all ERPs really, in recent times it made sense to have a branch of More Insight that would solely focus in the SAP space. Particularly with regards to the end of life of ECC and the demand to support customers with the upgrade before the upcoming deadline. So ultimately, this is how More Insight SAP came to fruition.
So Ian, a question that is a lot in people's mind at the moment is how long will SAP ECC be supported?
Okay, so firstly, SAP's ERP or ECC was launched in around 2004. Now, a few years later, in around 2010, the SAP HANA database was launched with a view to running the most up-to-date versions of SAP software. Then around in 2015, Business Suite 4, or S4 for short, was launched as SAP's next generation ERP, which was specifically designed to run on the HANA database. So with all this in mind, SAP have stated that ECC will come to the end of its life in 2027. They have, however, made a commitment that they will be offering extended support until 2030 at a premium to its customers who haven't upgraded. So what does this mean for the future? I guess it means that SAP are recommending that all their customers will have to upgrade to S4HANA before we get to this date.
And so just to clarify for our audience, does HANA replace ECC?
So HANA doesn't specifically replace ECC, no. I think it's important to understand what HANA is. So HANA was SAP's revolutionary new in-memory database that was launched, as I say, in around 2010. ECC was SAP's initial ERP system, which has the capability to run on third-party databases such as Oracle and amongst many others, and was basically the ERP prior to S4 being launched, as I said. As ECC is no longer going to be supported by SAP after the deadline, they're obviously making that recommendation that all customers will need to move to S4. Now, the keynote here is S4 is designed specifically to run on the HANA database, and therefore it can't run on third-party databases. So in answer to your question, ultimately it's S4 that replaces ECC, and S4 will run on the HANA database, and there you have your S4 HANA.
Thank you, Ian. Now, a lot of businesses are either starting their migration journey or, are still in the early stages of the process. So I think what lots of people are wondering at the moment is how long can an SAP migration take? Is there a straightforward answer to this question?
It's a very good question, and I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to give you a specific answer. So in terms of the length of a migration, there are a number of factors in play that will affect this. So things like the size of the organisation that's upgrading, the chosen migration path, the complexity of the systems and landscape, amongst a whole host of other things. So as a finger in the air, it could take 6 months, it could take 2 years. But what we do at More Insight SAP is, using our experience of previous SAP implementations, we engage early with customers upfront to work with them to determine the migration path, the approach, and the planning. And what we can quickly do at a very, very early stage is gauge how long it would take for a particular organisation.
I know that you and your team at More Insight SAP have led a number of SAP migrations in the past. So could you tell us a bit more about what sort of options there are around the migration path from ECC to S/4HANA?
Okay, so generally speaking, there are three options in the main, really, and those options are known as greenfield, brownfield, or a hybrid approach. Now, a greenfield approach is basically a clean, new, fresh implementation that allows you to design your system, structures, workflows, and everything else from scratch. And what that will bring is all the benefits around standardization of your business processes in line with industry standard best practice and a whole host of other things. Now, obviously, this would also be the approach for any new SAP customers, but existing customers as well may also wish to take the opportunity to go down this route. It may be, for example, that their existing system is out of date, it's heavily customized, or generally not fit for purpose. So we do see a lot of existing SAP customers choose this route as their preferred option. A brownfield approach is quite different. So what a brownfield approach allows you to do is keep your existing structures and processes and upgrade whilst taking on any new functionality that S/4HANA does bring along the way. And because you're not starting from scratch, a brownfield approach is generally speaking less timely, less costly, and therefore less disruptive to the organisation. Obviously, a brownfield approach is only suitable for existing ECC customers who want to upgrade, with a view to the gradual adoption of new S/4HANA processes and functionality. So the third option is the hybrid approach, and as you've probably guessed, the hybrid approach sits somewhere in the middle of those two. And what a hybrid approach allows you to do is effectively to, I suppose, cherry pick the best of both greenfield and brownfield, whilst getting rid of any used functionality along the way as well. And additionally, a hybrid approach is particularly useful for our customers who are combining multiple ERP systems. So with all these three options in mind, what we see is choosing the right path for customers can be extremely challenging due to the various complexities involved. And as I say, what we do at More Insight is we engage really early on with our customers to give them a helping hand along the journey, really, and help enable them to choose the option that is right for them.
That's right. I think it's really important to get this right. So choosing the right option for your business is critical. So how do you prepare for an SAP implementation?
So firstly, I guess it goes without saying, make sure you have an experienced and trusted partner that works with you, that will focus on the right options for you as the customer. If you're upgrading, make sure that the implementation path, whether it be greenfield, brownfield, or hybrid, is the right option for you, and be clear around what's involved in that chosen option. And I guess, as with any project, Ayana, you have to get the project planning and preparation stages right. Clearly agreeing up front your objectives, your scope, your priorities, and having the correct governance structure in place, and all of the usual things that come along with any project. One of the key things is to make sure that your project is resourced accordingly and properly with a broadly experienced SAP team, and additionally to that as well, an in-depth knowledge of SAP's methodologies, tools, and accelerators, because by having these in place, it will enable faster adoption for the organisation. Obviously, it goes without saying, having a detailed plan in place that aligns to the right methodology and the correct tools and when to use them is absolutely critical. And by having this sort of planned in up front, it allows you to hit the ground running as you effectively move on into and progress through the project. So yeah, and once again, just to reiterate, make use of those SAP tools, accelerators, and best practices as you go through the future phases, the explore, realize, deploy, and run. They, as I say, they work. They're there. They've been tried and tested, and ultimately they will enable you as an organisation to adopt the solution more quickly.
So when it comes to an SAP implementation, a number one concern is the cost. So how can customers be assured that costs will not spiral out of their control and the overall project will remain on budget?
So just to say, Ayana, you're absolutely spot on. Time and time again, we hear from our customers this is one of their primary concerns, that costs will spiral out of control, and again, I guess just to repeat the point is make sure you've got an experienced and trusted partner there. Get the initial planning and preparation stages right to enable you to hit the ground running. But one of the things we do at More Insight, which is quite unique and interesting, is we have a tried and tested work package model that allows us to provide our customers with that assurance that those costs won't spiral out of control. So a quick summary of what we do is, obviously we work really closely with our customers to develop and agree a plan up front. But what we can then do within the plan is we effectively break it down into chunks, into fixed price work packages, clearly defining and agreeing the activities, the deliverables, the acceptance criteria, so that everybody is fully aligned into what we're trying to achieve, and the costs and all the rest of it. And having these controls in place, Ayana, do two things really. Firstly, it allows us to stay within scope, within the agreed scope. But secondly, it allows us to stay within budget and provides assurance to our customers that they will stay within budget for these smaller fixed price pieces of work, and ultimately within budget for the overall project as well.
I think we did touch a lot of topical matters in the SAP space today, so thank you so much for joining me today, Ian.
Thanks for having me, Anna. I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon.